For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's 12th practice of fall camp. The Trojans are back out on Howard Jones Field in shoulder pads only. They're going to keep trailing downward until Saturday's scrimmage. Tomorrow, Friday, will be no pads, maybe even no helmets, so it will probably be a light practice tomorrow. But Helton noted in his post-practice media scrum that the defense's dominance was notable in the 2-minute drill. We saw 3 interceptions in that 2-minute drill, and Helton said that Clancy's not making it easy for the quarterbacks, and we definitely saw that today.
Yeah, you have to be careful when you start talking about trailing down, because this looked like, to some extent, it kind of looked like they were trailing backwards to spring. It was one of those memories of spring. I will say this, the defense didn't give them almost any chance. They were coming off the ball, reading the ball, keying the ball, and they were just getting, and you can't exactly, replicate full pads, so it's not the same advantage, for an offensive line. So it was really, really, really difficult. I thought, JT handled it decently, but there were times he just couldn't even get the throw out of his hand, and he was throwing it quick. So they made it very difficult, but that's what they're trying to do, and I think everybody understands that. But this is one of those days you go and Clay says, well, we'll go look at the tape and correct it on the tape, and there's a decent amount to correct in the 2-minute drill. The rest of it, pretty good, but 2-minute drill was tough.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, Clay said that Clancy is bringing a lot of blitz, a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks. What are your takeaways when the quarterbacks struggle in that area?
Well, I mean, I don't know that they were always in the, had the right pressure release stuff. And again, it's not full pad. They wouldn't be getting there that quick if it were, a regular game and if they were in full pads. But you can do things, when you're not, when you're just in shoulder pads and helmets. And so makes it a tougher test. But I think it's good, for them to face that. I think they're legitimately doing what they said they were going to do and really, really make it hard for them. And they're really making it hard for them, no question about it.
Mm-hmm. As you alluded to, there were some bright spots for the offense, especially in the team's 7-on-7 period. What did you see in that period specifically?
In the red zone, I thought we saw a lot of really good throws, from everybody. I think Amon-Ra made 2 just great catches. I think one maybe slightly in front of the goal line, one in the end zone, and one from Jack Sears, one from Matt Fink. And then JT had 3 touchdown throws to, I guess it was Randall Grimes and Velus Jones. I'm trying to think who the third one was. Was the third one on Amon-Ra? So there were 5 touchdowns in 7-on-7, but they were throwing the ball into the end zone. And again, JT is pretty good at that because he can throw the fade and the back shoulder. We saw an unbelievable catch by Randall Grimes, just a tremendous catch, a great catch by Velus, and a couple of great catches by Amon-Ra. And I guess really Tyler Vaughn had a good catch. I mean, they made some real plays on offense, I thought, early in practice. They didn't get a chance to make a lot of them later on.
Mm-hmm. As far as injuries go, we did get an update for Clayton Bradley and Andrew Voorhees. Helton expects them to return next week. We also ruled out Cam Smith and Keely Ross for Saturday's scrimmage, but Helton said both of them are close. As far as Cam Smith, he got 7-on-7 today, a little bit during that period, but Helton said that they have to kind of hold out Cam Smith because he wants to do too much. And some other guys returned today. Chase Williams. Who else returned today?
Well, I mean, in a way, we can say Porter Gustin returned to the diving board because they gave him, kind of a surprise pool party, and said they could go right next door, cool off before they even left the field. And sure enough, they all ended up, or not all of them, half of them looked like ended up on the platform, 33 feet up. And Porter said he only went off once, and he wanted to do a flip, but they wouldn't let him. But he's pretty amazing. But trying to think who else came back for the first time. Let's see. Liam Jimmons didn't.
No, Liam Jimmons has turf toe. That was the other guy that I missed. Liam Jimmons has turf toe. Helton hopes to get him back next week, but turf toes are a little tricky that way.
Yeah. So I mean, it didn't look like, you didn't have that sense other than the offensive line that guys, aren't there. I mean, Daniel Mater-Baby's doing a lot of stuff except not doing it in team. Eric Kromenow came back.
Yes.
Eric Kromenow, so he gave us another tight end. So there had been a lot of, back and forth, with the injuries. And it doesn't look like they're being pretty conservative and careful and realizing, we're a couple of weeks out. No need to aggravate anything if you can be back and have 2 full weeks to get ready for the first game, and knowing that you've got those 3 tough games in September on the road. So they're definitely thinking about it. They didn't play any no sound system, no noise today. Although I will say this, they're really cool. 4:10 when they let the media in, as you go in on the sound system, they're playing Respect, Aretha Franklin, and it was just a really a nice moment that they, saluted her, and that was kind of the first thing you heard when you go into practice today.
Mm-hmm. The other notable injury, Tyler Petit was out with a back injury, so watch out for that. But you alluded to the pool, so they were able to cool down, but because they got all wet, we weren't able to talk to, it was a defensive day. We didn't really get to talk to the defensive day. It was kind of a free-for-all in that regard. Who were you able to talk to today?
Well, we talked to Chase McGrath, a modern-day guy who came here as a freshman last year, and he was sort of the reference point to, well, now you've got 2 more modern-day freshmen. What do you tell them? How do you, how are you reacting to? You played with JT for a couple of years. Are you surprised and all of that? No, he's not. And he just said JT, because we haven't gotten to talk to JT. He said JT is one of the funnier guys on the team, but when he's out there on the field, he's all business and he's real focused, and that Chase is not surprised at all that JT has been able to do what he's been able to do. Talked to Malik Dorton. He talked about one of the things, how many of the big guys went off the board. Although he said the guy that made the biggest splash was Jake Olson. So Jake hit it pretty hard. And I guess Malik said he said it was exciting because he really didn't think he never done it before, and he didn't really understand exactly how to do it. I think they said maybe Austin Jackson was the biggest guy that went off, but I think I like the idea of doing something that they're not expecting, springing something on them. Because they basically were working down in that end zone, and then they told them, you can go to the pool. They opened the door, and they left their stuff there, and they all headed to the pool. But it didn't take any time at all to get up all those steps up to the platform. I mean, it just like, you knew that's what they were going to do.
Yeah, but that is something that Cam Smith did note in his Pac-12 Media Day presser. He said he talked to Clay Helton about having a more high school feel to this team where they can bond, doing something like jumping off the high dive towards the end of fall camp, and lo and behold, that's what they did today. So I think Cam got his wish in that sense.
Yeah, I think he's always going to they're going to listen to him. I mean, it sounds like when you talk to Clay, like on a day like today, Cam's kind of running the morning walkthrough and coaching him. And that's what we saw with Cam all summer in the PRPs. He is kind of the mother hen, and as Clay said, with the little bit of a hamstring the last couple of weeks, it gives him more opportunity to be that guy. So he's done a lot of coaching here the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. But because of that little fun cool down, practice was pretty short. It was around an hour and 10 minutes. Helton did allude that today and tomorrow will be light. Seems like everything's gearing up for Saturday's preseason game, as Helton likes to call it. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Well, I thought it was a really tough day for Jack Sears. I mean, when you have the 3 interceptions, he threw one again on the first pass of the day. That probably you just can't do. I mean, that's just so difficult. It was one of those situations where you would have liked if it was a baseball game and you were the manager, you kind of got to get the guy out of there and get somebody in from the bullpen, because that was a tough day for him. Not that it was any easier for anybody else. It just things just didn't work out for him. But again, they'll have a chance on Saturday, and it'd be interesting to see a Saturday morning scrimmage. So And Clay, those are really important, for Clay. I
Yeah.
don't think there's any question. He calls them games, preseason games, and they're like the NFL preseason games. And so, and everything, because today's pointing to it, tomorrow's pointing to it, and you really want to see how do these guys perform when they get in as close to game condition as you can get them because of the way the schedule is so front loaded. They have to be ready to go. I think that, they got to. So I think we're thinking now that Clay originally had said maybe go to week 4, the game week. Before he picks a quarterback. Boy, it would be a surprise now if that's the case. It looks like he's kind of been setting things up that maybe he could name the quarterback before the start of mock game week next week. That's just a guess. We're not, he's certainly not saying that, but you're getting the sense that maybe that's the case.
Do you think, if anything, if it's not the starter, it'll be narrowed down to 2 by next week?
Yeah, it might be down. It might be almost that way now. I mean, after I know that wasn't the case, necessarily. But if you watch today's practice, and I know it's just the rotation. And it's 3 guys, and then you really only have 2 that you can give a lot of reps to. But you have a suspicion that it might be close to that now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to read into it too much because we've been told before it's a rotation, but it was a lot of Jack Sears and JT Daniels today. Not sure if we should read into that, but as you said, it looks like maybe things are starting to move without us fully being informed of it.
Right, and that's a fair way to go. And the fact that Clay did sit down with the quarterbacks after last week's scrimmage with Coach Ellis, talk to him about what you need to do, how you stand, where you are. That often is the kind of thing you do, before you're ready to kind of make that, name that guy. So they've already done that once. So they're in a position where they could do it if they chose to.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for Thursday's fall camp practice. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.